September 20th, 7 p.m. I'd ask everyone if you'd please rise to salute our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Here.
Councilmember Santamaro is absent this evening. Worthy. Costa.
Here.
Della Ripa.
Here.
D'Amato.
Here.
Hudson. Present. Yazdi.
Here.
Also with us are Borough Clerk Jay McCarthy and soon to be arriving our Borough Attorney Fred Semrau. This is an official meeting of the governing body of the Borough of Bloomingdale on November 28th, the 5th, 2015, and amended March 1 of 16. The date, time, and place of this official meeting was faxed and mailed to all local news media posted here at Borough Hall. There is no early executive session. There are no non-agenda items. I'm sorry?
There's the bond sale. You're going to report on that, just that.
Oh, the one non-agenda just for discussion is a bond sale held the other day in the borough, 1.2 million bond sale through Lakeland Bank at 1%, but that's all I wanted to just state for the record. But I'll revisit that under new business. How are you, Fred? Thank you. Good. Okay, so I'm going to go to number 8 before I come back to public comment. I would ask the governing body to join me off the dais if you'd be so kind. All right, thank you. Our first item of business is to recognize, sadly, and we shouldn't be letting him go, our recreation president, Brian Branker, who is retiring after 6 years of service, 4 of which have been as president of the Rec Commission. And not only has he done for our borough an outstanding job serving our children, he's been a great leader of the program, and all we can do is thank you from the bottom of our heart how great of a job you did. Before I call you up, we have Brian's wife, Trisha's with us tonight, and it's an maiden who was probably 7 when you started doing this. Brian was instrumental in supporting our rec director, who I'll introduce in a moment, and a big integral part of running our largest program, basketball program. And the oldest job is doing that as well as leading. Also with us, Mary Westcott, one of our commissioners. Thank you, Mary, for being here. And Rachel Bodor, our rec director, and Carly, our co-rec director, and Peter, Rachel's husband. So thank you all for being here. Brian, I ask you to please come up. And it was important to me that we had you here tonight to at the very least honor you and thank you for your years of service and the fact that I had a really nice shirt like this too. But we are here to present you Brian Branker, the proud recognition of your and grateful appreciation for your 6 years of dedicated public service to the children of the Borough of Bloomingdale. As a member of the Bloomingdale Recreation Commission, commission member for 6 years and Recreation President for 4 years, Bloomingdale acknowledges your sacrifice and commitment to our borough, and we present this proudly to you this 20th day of December 2016. So thank you so much. And also the honor to present you with a key to the city that is for you to cherish. And I know he's not going anywhere. For somebody to get him back somewhere. But Trish should hear that. But on behalf of the governing body and all our residents, we thank you very much. I appreciate it. You're a great servant to our community, and appreciate what you've done for us. Thank you very much. So give it a round of applause.
He's on the 100th anniversary committee. He's not getting off of it.
He's on the 100th anniversary committee, so we already got that. We are looking for anyone who wishes to volunteer for that. Rachel, Mary, did you wish to say anything? I mean, not to put you on the spot, but
I don't know what we're going to do without him.
I still have a cell phone number, so
again, we thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you and your family, and enjoy your neighbor's pool.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys, Rachel, Peter, Carly, Mary, for coming. We'll take a lull so we can pass it. Unless you wish to stay to lunch. Merry Christmas to you.
Why, he's taking over.
We're working on that.
Oh, okay. Brian's wife.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
In-house trailer.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. So we'll work on it. Thank you, everyone. Okay, again, I welcome everyone here this evening, and I do wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a healthy and happy New Year, because we won't see you until after the New Year. For the record, our reorg will be Tuesday, the 3rd of January, but at 1 p.m. on New Year's Day, we will be swearing in our new fire chief, Tony Marciano, on that day, and then our normal reorg on the Tuesday, the 3rd. I need a motion now for early public comment.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak to an agenda item, please come on up. Hi, Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas. No microphones tonight?
It's on.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Do you mind grabbing this? It should reach.
Wait, gotta go down this.
You know, Rich, you want to spin the dais too? Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought we were getting a Christmas present with no public comments. I forgot to move it tonight.
I'm not even gonna respond to that.
I'm kidding. Just a little levity, Linda.
Okay.
I was going to use the one Linda has in her hand. That's okay.
Trying to get rid of it. You want to just leave that there?
yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year to you all.
You too.
Under 10C, opposing the S781, S782, exactly what are you opposing?
Under our consent agenda,
Yeah.
there is,
That has to do with the Oprah
correct.
request. I didn't have a chance to pull the bills to see
Right,
exactly what it was.
resolution opposing Senate bills S781 and S782. We have taken the position of many municipalities and the League of Municipalities, whereas the position of the governing body, that the existing Oprah laws already make the municipality transparent. Whereas there comes a time when staffing and budget requirements are exhausted just to accommodate a select few
Well, you're
people
just
who.
reading from the ordinance. I-
Correct.
I read that. I'm just trying to find out exactly what it is that you are opposed to.
Well, the
specifically
legislation
those
is just
bills.
is adding more, burdensome process on our staff. We feel the existing law is sufficient. That, under the existing Oprah law, the government's transparent, so anything you request, we can comply with. Under the existing law, our fees are reasonable for the amount of time and efforts going into searching for all the documents, not only in the clerk's office, but, as you know, other departments as well. The Oprah law also allows outside businesses seeking construction permits and plans, just as the resolution kind of lays out everything we're doing.
What is those new bills going to require you to do that's not already in?
If I could,
Yeah, please, Rich.
I was going to say, because at the League of Municipalities, I was at a session that had Bill Keene.
Comment to that?
I don't know, he's the general counsel for the league, along with his assistant, and he was talking a bit about what was coming. And I know there's some stuff where all committees and subcommittees and boards would have to keep minutes basically at the level that the clerk does, which would put a burden on a lot of volunteers. There's a fear there that, people wouldn't volunteer if they know they have to, go through all that stuff. There's a lot more stuff where it's basically viewed, I think, as an unfunded mandate, where, not that our clerks don't have enough to do, there's a lot more work that again, it's not necessarily, some of it, if the subcommittees, I don't know
I
that,
thought the committees, according to our committee handbook, they're supposed to keep minutes.
yeah, but not to the level that.
But they don't, a lot of them don't even keep minutes. So I'm just wondering,
Well, it's subcommittees. No, you're talking, commissions need to keep minutes, like Environmental Commission and those. We're talking about subcommittees. So if, like the Anniversary Committee, that the new Oprah laws would require there to be,
Minutes and.
secretarial,
Minutes and also they were talking about quarterly reports, yearly reports, and
Right.
that, again, they felt that that was a burden on a lot of these small subcommittees that are made of mostly
Right,
volunteers.
It's a subcommittee. Commissions are required, and
Then
most do.
people would be turned away from wanting to even volunteer
Yeah,
at that point, because it's a lot of fun.
I mean, just speaking for myself, it's not that I necessarily oppose increased transparency, but some of the particulars of the bill, like I said, just put an undue burden without any relief. You know, there's only so far we can push certain people, you know, especially if they're volunteers, you know.
Well, you're a volunteer, I mean, realistically, I mean,
I know.
let's be real.
Yeah, but, you know, I admit, you know, I kind of knew what I was getting into when I got here. But the point is, when you know, if you volunteer for the anniversary committee, you're not going in there anticipating that you're going to have to keep copious notes that could be Oprah'd, that sort of thing. You know, like I said, it's not necessarily transparency. It's just these specific bills go a little too far in certain circumstances. You know, if they could be rewritten so they're not as, you know, demanding, that's a good word, thank you.
Well, and the league's position, which we're following, is the league believes that the proposed changes would add secretarial expenses to the cost of running subcommittee meetings, which they claim are open to the public, but which people rarely attend. It adds the borough websites are already updated and contends that municipalities' meeting minutes are already online and available by the next meeting or as soon as reasonably possible. There comes a time when staffing and budget requirements are exhausted just to accommodate a select few, as I read earlier. Senate Bill 782 proposes changes to Oprah, which include requiring that the state make a public finance website and the establishment of the New Jersey Public Finance Internet Website Development Program to provide local governments with advice and technical assistance with such websites. So, again, all these unfunded mandates are a big part of it. Fred, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, you know, there really hasn't been any legislation that in any way has, you know, loosened, for lack of a better word, or lightened the requirements of Oprah. This is just to add additional requirements, and we've seen over the years that, you know, there's been, you know, that transparency's there, but this is a new step. When you talk about subcommittees, the point is, subcommittees don't have the ability to spend money or make decisions. So that comes back to the governing body. So if they did, they already by law would be in a situation where they have to have open public meetings and things like that. So they're really just informal meetings that there would have to be an advertisement. You'd have to likely, in order to have the volunteers do this, you likely, like the planning board or the Board of Health, have a paid secretary to take the minutes. And then you'd have the advertising cost, and you have the memorialization of the minutes. And, you know, from that standpoint, it just becomes, it discourages public volunteers. And again, if there is a recommendation for spending or policy, it comes back here. It's not as if things are going to happen and they're not going to be memorialized. That doesn't happen at a subcommittee meeting.
Okay. And I have 2 items on the bills list for Mike Fitzpatrick. That's on page 15. There's 2 fourth payments. Right,
And that could have just been, what page, I'm sorry?
15. One was 135, one was 127. Thousand.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I just, how Sherry identified the 127 as a fourth payment, I mean, could be affixed to fifth payment. I assure you, he's not being overpaid, because what's submitted is when the engineer signs off on work done to date. So, as you see, they're still paving, so there'll probably be another payment on our next bills list once things are completed. So, I would just have to review with Sherry why it says the same thing as the $135 amount, but, you know, it's
on a different line item.
Yes.
different, right, one is most likely Ryerson, and one is, I'm sure, well, no, they both say Star Lake.
Both Star
Oh, but
Lake.
some of it's utility and some of it is
Right,
capital,
exactly.
so. you
That's
had-
why it's
They're both capital.
No, but one is utility. So it's probably fourth
Utility
payment
work.
out of one funding source and a fourth payment out of the other, but they're separate. One is, you know, probably the storm drains, paving, and then the other, most of that work prior to this recent paving was utility work. The water lines, the water connects and the like, so.
Then on page 21, for John's Lawn Service, what does that relate to? Is that to the Board of that emergency
It
again?
was, yeah. The only thing he's been utilized for was the emergency, and this finished up the work he did throughout town. Primarily, the most recent conclusion was the culvert on Catherine and Star Lake Road. If you haven't seen it, it came out beautifully. You're taking a failing culvert and rebuilt it with the Jersey block and whichever. But yeah, that's all 100% related to the emergency.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to an agenda item? Seeing no one, motion to close?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Reports. Jane, do you have anything for us?
Nothing at this time.
Fred, do you have anything for us?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Any council person?
Yes, we met for the first time to start planning our 100th. We have a committee of about 10 people to start out with. There'll be other committees formed off of that committee, so we're trying to plan a year in advance. I believe our actual birthday is February 23rd, I think that was the
Right
date.
around there.
Right around there. So we're trying to plan something right around that date to celebrate the beginning of that year. So we'll welcome anybody else that would like to get on the committee, because there'll be subcommittees off the committee, because it's going to be a big project. So we have another meeting in January, and then we'll move on from there. But it's going to take about a year to plan the kickoff.
I think what we need to do early on, Jane, if you make a note of this, is create a trust fund through the rec commission called the anniversary, 100th year anniversary, because if we receive any donations or do any solicitations or income, put something in the budget, we'd have a place to put it. All right, so, budget committee, assuming it's still Ray and John, Ray and Rich, we'll just have that discussion. I don't think we have to fund much in 17, but planning to do so for 18. But we'll need a place to, I would say we do a trust fund. We'll talk with finance about that. Because I'm hoping we seek donations as well, which we'll have
We're
to.
planning an ad book and
Yeah,
use
right.
the,
But we can't forget that part of it, so.
Yeah,
It'll be
so-
something we could do next year to get the housekeeping done on that. Good. Thank you very much for having that. And again, like you said, maybe Dawn could post something on Facebook as far as soliciting more volunteers, if you choose to, if the committee chooses.
I think that's really up to John, how many more that he feels we need.
Well, I figure after our next meeting, because everybody's digesting what we kind of went over.
I mean, we went over a lot.
We went over a ton of stuff, and everybody's going to be kind of assigned jobs, so those people will get their committees together and work on their projects, and we'll break it out that
Do
way.
you have any senior representation on the committee? If not, I think we
Tom
should.
Riley, I mean, I don't know if you want to depend.
A Bloomingdale resident, though, I think we should try to.
Well, we have Tom on there, but we need to, yeah, like I said, it's our first meeting, so
Okay, yeah, no, that's great. Thank you so much for starting that process. Good. Anything else? Anyone else?
I do.
Yes, sir.
I was going to say, because mentioning the league reminded me of something else, which also has to do with the Board of Ed, so it's a dual thing. I wanted to mention that while I was down there, one of the sessions I attended was about, I'll call them drones, I forget what the official term is.
Drones.
Yes,
Yeah.
drones, which, we'd had discussions about before. What I came away from it is, they had come up with new regulations the middle of this past year, 2016, but they were expected to come up with more regulations in the next couple of months, and then probably another set of regulations in the middle of next year. So, to me, it seemed kind of pointless for us to pass anything at this point when
Right.
the federal government would be issuing twice, 2 more revisions on their stuff, which might supersede ours. However, I wanted to point out, the Board of Ed has passed a policy, as recommended to them from their policy firm, Strauss Esme. They now have a policy about drones. So, it's kind of a generic policy, obviously, because it came from Strauss
We
Esme.
had the one
but-
incident, someone complaining about someone filming over youth sports, but it's been quiet since then, but it's something we need to continue to look at. I think you as a.
Right.
I think the insurance
And I-
is, by the way.
Yeah.
but,
Our-
Yeah, and I found it very interesting to see, I kind of assumed, not knowing any better, that you could just, go to a local box store and get a drone and just start driving things,
Bull.
What?
just bought one for my nephew.
Right, but you do have to go onto you have to go onto a website, you have to register, there is some accountability there. It's not like you just go, and like, it always has to be in line of sight. You can't just like send it down, a mile down the street and be filming your neighbors or something like that. So I was glad to see there are some controls over what people are allowed to do at this point, so,
Well,
which I hadn't realized,
Right.
but.
Okay, well, thank you for following up on that, and like Fred just said, our joint insurance fund is reviewing the whole topic as well, and we'll make a recommendation also. Great. Any other council member? Just a couple things. We had last Sunday our holiday event, very well attended, great success, and I thank Rachel while she was here. She did a great job putting that together. There was hundreds and hundreds of guests on that day with Santa arriving by helicopter. So it was a good day, a real good day. As the year comes to an end, I want to thank our governing body for your commitment to the borough and working diligently all of 2016. From the bottom of my heart, I really sincerely mean that. I want to thank Jane for all that you do for our borough, and Fred, you and your firm, thank you as well for all that you do to support and help and protect our borough. I'm going to thank Mr. Hawkins and Linda for your attendance at meetings as well as your commitment running for office. And as I offered an olive branch, there may be some openings on various boards and commissions. I'd like you to consider getting involved. And Mr. Bow and Mr. Graff, your attendance as well. It's great that we have residents who keep us on our toes and come and listen to what we have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to
Yeah,
everybody.
same. Thank you so much. Moving along, I need a motion for the consent agenda, which includes Resolution 1612 1.1.
So
That
moved.
was, second, please? Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Pending items. Item A, we're tabling. This is on the agenda to add another item. We keep building this auction list. And last meeting, we added a generator. And then we had a 2002 Dodge Mason dump, 70-plus thousand miles, the engine blew, which was planned to be replaced next year as part of our 10-year plan, but that'll be put on the auction. The reason I'm tabling this is we will not have the auction in 2016, so this resolution will be on our reorg agenda, so that, because if I do a resolution now, it'll expire 12/31. So this is tabled, we will do it in January, and then have the auction in January, February, giving time for our clerk to advertise and do everything proper. But I want to do it in January so we can clean house and make some room, but you can see how much is on that list to get rid of. So moving along, second and final reading on ordinance 26, 2016, adding chapter 36 entitled Taxation to establish a mechanism for qualified property owners to avail themselves for property tax exemption. Public notice statement, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was posted in the municipal building, published in the Herald News. Copies available to the public, so a motion may be made that it be read by title.
And who makes that motion?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And that would be an ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale in the County of Passaic and State of New Jersey, adding Chapter 36 entitled Taxation to the Code of the Borough of Bloomingdale to establish a mechanism for qualified property owners to avail themselves of property tax exemptions.
Thank you. And I need a motion for a public hearing.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak to 2616, please come on up.
The 86 Van Dam Avenue. Who is qualified property owners?
Any residential or commercial. And if you recall, we had our tax office do an analysis to even be deemed an area eligible for rehabilitation. The majority of your dwellings and properties had to be built prior to 1950
Well, yeah, 1957, that'd be
Right.
50 years old.
years old.
In this particular ordinance, to be a qualified property, it has to be at least 20 years old.
20 years old. But both commercial and residential. And the
Well,
maximum,
the tax office, nobody got back to me about this.
when did you call?
2 weeks ago?
Okay. I'll follow up on that.
Okay, so
Actually, no,
prop-
Barbara told me you had called. I'm surprised she didn't call you back. Okay.
Okay, so the property has to be 20 years old, so I have to wait 4 years, right?
If you're gonna do improvements, sure. Improvements that would result in a tax assessed value. I think there's a Huntley exemption. Huntley clause. Yeah. If it was so many feet from a quarry, you can't get through it. Okay, anyone else? Seeing no one, motion to close.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second?
Mayor, can I just say
Yeah.
one thing about the ordinance? Because it's not every day that governing bodies, there's very few areas, this is very unique, where you can actually have an exemption or an abatement of taxes. I mean, there's really no other mechanism. So what the borough has done is established this in accordance with the law, where you've designated the borough in, need of rehabilitation, and that was with the assistance of the planning board. And then you put together this legislation where if someone has a home, say 20 or more years old, and they want to put, say, an addition on the home or a deck, oftentimes you get what's called an added assessment, and you pay tax on that. In this case, for a period of 5 years, that first $25,000 of improvement you would not pay tax on that. It's to encourage, improvements to residential and commercial properties. There's no loss of a rateable because you didn't have it as a borough before it happened. So, but at the end of the 5-year period, it does go back on the tax rolls. And if it's a $50,000 improvement, the first $25,000, again, is exempt from taxes. And it's one of the rare times that, you can legislate in this area, and the governing body has done that. And a lot of towns have talked about it and looked at it, and there's issues. You really also need to have your affordable housing plan in place too, because you're making this designation. And if you make that type of designation, someone could say, well, someone could press your rehabilitation units and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, your house is in order to do that. So I just want to say for the record, it's a very, very good legislation that way, and it works, and I've seen it work. I believe it was I know it was in Netcong about 15 years ago that I worked on something like this, and it's very effective.
Well, again, I thank you for helping us get to the final product, but it was Ray who brought it initially
Can I ask a question?
to us, so I thank Ray too. Yes.
Somebody remodels their house, for example, down by Quick Check. Does the age of the house change?
Not unless it's all demolished,
Right.
then the assessor would change the records, and it would be
Right.
a new home. But
The year of the construction on that house will remain its initial,
No matter,
yeah,
even though.
unless it was built from the ground up.
And just to follow up on that, though, it's all new permits going forward, right?
Correct.
So someone that,
Now that we've adopted this ordinance, it has to be
Going
advertised,
forward.
has to be published, 20 days, 10 days?
10, I think that, I'm not sure.
That's when it'll become effective, so, so anything after that day.
John, you and I have spoken about this as far as advertising. and
Marketing
getting
it,
out
right.
there. Marketing it because, this could be a good closing tool for real estate agents, right?
Sure.
Bringing in people to.
Well, my plan in the new year is to bring, which they already know about it, to the Economic Development Commission, which, by the way, has openings, if anyone's interested. Great bunch on that board. Bring this to them to help me get it marketed to commercial. And then you and I spoke about whether it be a mailer in our water bill. The problem is tax bill doesn't go out till May or June, so it's kind of late for that. So we got to figure out whether we bite the bullet and spend $600 and do a marketing mailing piece. This is what we have to talk about. But we need to get it out there so people are aware of it. And not only is it good, obviously, it nets out to be about a $5,000 savings. At our $4 rate, $25,000 is $1,000. 5 years, $5,000 could be a net savings for someone who otherwise was considering doing something. That may just be an incentive to do so. And it'll tie in well with Main Street redevelopment as well. So, thank you all. So we're in the middle of a motion on the table, and I need a roll call, please.
Councilmembers Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Thank you. 12A, I need a motion for Resolution 1612.2, payment of the bills. Who makes that motion?
Second?
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers D'Amato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Yazdi. Costa.
Yes.
Next item, resolution, need a motion, 1612.3, transfer resolution. Who makes that motion?
So moved. Second?
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Delariva.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato.
Yes.
Item C, I need a motion for resolutions 12.4 through 9 for the following tax office
resolutions. Who makes that motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Hudson.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
I think our lettering is a little out of order here. A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. So it's item D, for those keeping score. I need a motion for Resolution 1612.10, Chapter 159 for our Drive Sober, Get Pulled Over grant to be plugged into the budget. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Any discussion? And, do you want a roll call, Jay?
No, I don't need one.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Next is 1612.11, authorizing submission of a municipal alliance grant application. Who makes that motion?
So moved?
Second?
Any discussion? The amount seeking of $16,792. All in favor?
Aye.
Item F, Resolution 12.12, authorizing an agreement between Bloomingdale and the Fire Department for maintenance of the parking lot area. There was an agreement many, many years ago that had expired many, many years ago. So in review of a couple things, what came up, there was a broken dumpster in the fireman's parking lot. And when the fireman reached out and said, hey, there's a broken dumpster, my first thought was, well, why is the borough paying for it? And then Councilman D'Amato said, well, there's an agreement that because the fire hall owns all the property here, there was an agreement, including the land that this sits on, the borough hall, there was an agreement that we'll plow the snow, we'll maintain the parking lot, and so on and so on. So Jane's diligent research found that agreement, which expired some time ago, and we're just resurrecting that for a 10-year agreement, which simply says, in the consideration of all the rights the borough enjoys from the parking lot and the benefits from being able to utilize this area, we agree to parking lot maintenance, dumpster maintenance, and street lighting maintenance. It's always been the case. We're just ratifying it because there has not been a current contract in some time. So with that said, did we get a motion? I apologize. Can I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Second?
Any further discussion?
Is this going to be something we need to add to the?
This is a 10-year term on
Okay,
this agreement.
so we don't need to?
Nope.
Redo it?
We'll just diary it for 9-year out renewal.
Okay.
Thank you. Give me a roll call on that, please.
Councilmembers Yazdi.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato. Delariva.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Good. Glad that's just cleared up for the record. Item G, Resolution 1213, just memorializing what services we provide in the agreement with the Board of Education for landscaping services for 2016 through June of 2017. Who makes that motion?
So moved?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Next item, H, is just for discussion, and I'm not going to spend too much time, but I will carry it into the new year for further. Discussion regards to water connection fees. We have, as you know, a schedule of fees paid for when you tap our main, when you connect to our main, plus administration fees and so on. What's interesting, they all make sense for when a homeowner taps, the 3/4 inch line and the like, but we had an example where years ago a homeowner received a subdivision on a lot he owned and created one big piece into two. And part of the planning board application of that approval was they had to run, nothing's happened yet, I don't know if it will, but they had to run a main, their own main, from where our main is in the road to reach these two vacant lots on their own dime, their own main, which is going to run, $150,000 to $180,000 for that person to run that main for these two single-family lots. The issue is for them to then connect that main into ours, our structure would cost, our fee structure would cost that person an additional $138,000 to connect the line they paid for to connect into our line. So what I'm going to propose, and not now, just food for thought, is that we change language to say, when it pertains to 1 through 4 units, where the owner is responsible for the infrastructure improvement of a new main, that fee be reduced, waived, or something to that effect. Because you'll never see growth. You'll never see, 4 homes on a block open up if a developer's got to extend our main on their dime and then spend $138,000 per connection. It never happen. So we'll visit this next year, but I want to put it out there. So then, instead of that person, because they just spent 180 creating a new main that once it's built, paved, and fixed, we own it anyway, they'll have to pay, if we change the rule, the normal fee to hook into the house, which is $2,700. Like if your house was on well and you connected to our water, it's $2,700, okay? Again, I just think that prohibits any kind of growth. But I don't want to change it for the big developments. Like in Avalon Bay, you wouldn't want to change it for someone who's building 180, 300 units. But someone who has those rare instances where,
Should up it for them.
well, it's a big nut there, but that was changed, I think, in 2007-ish, 8-ish, thereabouts. These fees were all amended. And this one makes sense when it's a 400-unit condo, but it applies to a single-family home if they have to tap our main.
Well, wasn't that about the same time we were getting sued and all that?
Well, that's all unrelated,
We're
but,
making it
right, but in these cases,
painful to.
it's not like, if you have a vacant piece of property, and you have our main going right in front of you already, it's $2,700.
Yeah.
In this case, there's no main. So the planning board is saying, okay, you gotta extend our main to this, and then pay an additional $138,000 per unit. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
So you'll never see tax revenue, from a development of 1 or 2 or 3 single families. So, food for thought, we'll keep it out there and revisit it in January sometime, okay? Item I, I need resolution 1214, authorizing a grant application for DOT paving Red Twig. As you know, each year,
Sorry. I'm sorry, I have that as G, or do you have a
well,
different?
Lumbering was wrong.
they were wrong.
Just asking, so we're not missing
No,
things.
the letter,
My letters were
you see where it went? The first one was C, then went back to B.
Yeah, just checking.
So,
what I did.
I'm on I, right? Okay. It's the end of the year. We'll give Jane a pass on that one.
Yeah, I was freaking.
Yeah, she's still got a rube on her mind. So every year we apply for a DOT paving grant. Last year we were successfully funded Van Dam, which we will pave in 17, assuming the TTF continues to be funded, unrelated. But they're asking for our application. I'm recommending Red Twig Trail. It's on our road pave plan for the next 2 years. It's one of our larger streets, so getting funding to offset would be considerable. So I'm asking for a motion to approve our application is for Red Twig for 2017's funding round. Does anyone make that motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And our deadline on that application, I foolishly didn't write it down. I think it's March. Bear with me. Well, we have to, I want to say it's March 7th or 16th or something to that. So, we're good. Next is 1215, authorizing grant application for a community development block grant for Henyon Street. Now, each year we go for a community development block grant. Last year,
No, go ahead, I have a
we
question.
we
before-
completed Ryerson, that was 2015 funding. We have funding from 16 for Leary. I'm sorry. Or do I have that backwards? No, Leary, right, Leary will be done next year. Henyon, we did sidewalks. When we all got involved, there was old money on the shelf for sidewalks, one of Linda's favorites, across from Barb the Barber's. And there was, whatever the skull of it was, that never happened.
We never paid.
No, we never paved it. We just did sidewalks.
How many sidewalks?
Yeah. So we took that 30, 40 grand at the time and finally utilized it because we were going to lose it, because this is federal money funneled through the county who administers to us. We did sidewalks. So I said to our engineer, let's just go for money for pave it. It's going to, it's going to be $40,000, $50,000. We're very limited. There's only a defined section you can apply for this particular money, which runs from Oak Street, Union Ave, Oak Street, all the way to Reeve, that section, neighborhood, but we've done it all. We've done every street in there through community money. It runs a little bit outskirts on, again, by Bob the Barber's, but nothing really. The only thing we could do next is curb drops, handicap curb drops, but the county did them all, and they paved Hammer Turnpike. So this could potentially be our last community development block application. Again, we don't know yet. I want to go and seek where we can extend the map, which hasn't been extended in years, to try to pick up more of the flats or more of, Main Street Elizabeth up here this way. So really all that's left is paving of Henyon. That's eligible. I mean, if someone said, well, let's pave Maple or Chestnut we've done that, but they're not eligible. They're not in the maps where you can only apply for money for this. So anyway, my recommendation is paving only, because everything else was done on Henyon, but we never paved it. Okay, so an application, again, deadline is March-ish. So do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, before
Yeah.
you go, in reviewing that packet, the resolution.
Yeah.
There was another resolution in the packet, and I put it in the book.
Oh, for fair share
I'm
housing?
not sure if that's two separate ones, or if that has to be done. I think Kathleen said it had to be, I think.
It does. So we'll do
Two
both. So
separate.
first, Resolution 15, which is for authorization for me to apply for the paving of Henyon. So let's do that. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Any further discussion? Roll call on that.
Councilmembers D'Amato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
And then Resolution 12.16, which is a resolution where the Borough of Bloomingdale supports Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, federal fair share housing law, and the New Jersey law against discrimination. And it is a policy of the borough to implement programs to ensure equal opportunity in housing for all persons regardless of race, region, color, ancestry, sex, national origin, family status, marital, domestic partnership, etc. The Borough of Bloomingdale further objects to discrimination on the sale, rental, leasing, financing, housing, as prohibited by Title VIII. So, again, this is just part of the Community Development Block Grant process, so that resolution will be moving, and who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next is Resolution 12.17, 2017 Governing Body Schedule, subject to change, hopefully not. I know Fred's office had a question about June, and the reason, Fred, we went from the 1st and 3rd is because that's primary.
Yeah.
So that's the 1 month we go 4th, 2nd and 4th. So, we could talk about that.
Okay.
Because isn't this a gubernatorial primary?
Yeah.
So might be a little busier than normal, so. But what in front of you is it? The only thing that could change to accommodate scheduling could be June, and obviously we would notice that. So who makes the motion to accept that scheduling?
So moved.
Second, thank you, and all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. Next item is Resolution 12.18, appointment of Richard Coons as our QPA. We're appointing him as a QPA for 2016. We had done a resolution appointing an interlocal agreement with the Township of Pequannock, but for circumstances beyond our control, that share service needs to be voided, and we need to appoint Mr. Coons to be our QPA on record for 2016. Who makes that motion, please? At a cost of $500. We have not paid any money under the original resolution with Pequannock whatsoever. And do I have a second? I'm sorry, it was Yazdi and Hudson? Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Delariva.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato.
We're currently discussing 2017 with this individual and some others, and I'll bring that back to you in January. Thank you. Next is Resolution 12.19, authorizing contract between Community Grants and Planning for affordable housing monitoring. First, someone make a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Here's what we're doing here. For years, the borough had utilized the services of an organization through the state, actually through part of Consumer Affairs called HAAS, which is a housing element within the state. And we were paying $1,000 a year for them to monitor our affordable housing. And the contract expired in April of 16. And they informed us, and we've been requesting a proposal from Haas, which is the state agency, to send us a proposal. And really getting no response. Now, I don't want to publicly speak negatively, but I believe it's just an understaffed, underfunded element within our state that they can't really be as responsive as necessary. What triggered this, besides waiting for a proposal since June from Haas, H-A-S, and an acronym escapes me, Housing Authority, and I apologize. But they administer affordable housing, monitor it. We had an existing affordable housing unit in Mountainside Estates. An owner passed away, and the estate was trying to sell the unit. And it's an affordable housing unit for 8 more years by deed restriction. And the seller was getting a bit of a runaround and contacted me, and we're trying to get Haas to be involved because there's just such a process. They have to list it on websites, you have to advertise it, you have to develop a lottery format for anyone in the community or nearby who's eligible to qualify to purchase this. So this gentleman's, again, getting a bit of a runaround. I actually had reached out to Fred for advice because I was getting nowhere. So long story short, Haas finally gets to it. I still don't have a contract with them. And they send it off to community grants and planning company, and says, hey, would you handle this for Bloomingdale? Now, Community Grants and Planning happens to be the entity who administers Avalon Bay's, for Avalon Bay. They administer their affordable housing. Community Grants and Planning also was used by the borough many years ago. They were the entity who helped us get funding to build the senior center and administered that for the borough. So they sent a proposal to administer for 1 year all of our affordable housing for $2,900, and then begin the process to utilize the $100,000 trust fund that we received from Avalon Bay, and help us. Fred gave me some guidelines and some outlines, and it really never got off the ground. So this organization will help us administer that and begin a program where we can allow our own residents to benefit from the $100,000 we have from Avalon Bay in the form of, new boilers, new roofs, whatever, but there's a process. They have to qualify income. There's got to be a deed restriction, and Community Grants and Planning will administrate that for us for the $2,900, which the expenses here are all allowed to be paid by the trust fund. So the $100,000 trust fund that we have can be utilized to pay the soft costs related to administering the same program. So that's what we'll be doing. And now we'll have a clean, close eye and handle on our co-op. How many times Jane and I over the years have been like, what have we really built? What's our number? It's such an unknown because administrators change, everyone changes. Haas was not very responsive. New day, we're hiring this entity, funded by the Affordable Housing Trust, and we're going to be in a good place administering and knowing our exact COA status, what's built, what's not, and so on. They also inform me there's a fair amount of funding out there for additional housing rehab type projects. So they'll be giving me more information on those type of, like they got us funding for the senior center, that kind of funding. So I'm looking forward to it. But what we're doing tonight is authorizing that contract and finalize this, get the trust fund moving, and this estate of the person who passed away, get that resolved too for that particular family. Because some of the obligations on the borough clearly as well. I know it's a mouthful, but we're in a good place doing this. So I did have a motion in a second, correct? Can I have any further discussion or questions? Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilmembers Hudson.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes. Great, thank you. And then there was non-agenda, which was, we had a bond sale on, or we're having a bond, no, we had a bond sale on Monday. As you know how it works, when we do a note, we had a note sale. When we do a note, we do a bond ordinance to do a project. We don't necessarily go borrow the money, because there's always money in the bank per se, old bonds, everything. But now that we've paid up all of Fitzpatrick, paid up all our projects, we really rock and rolled and got everything done, that we had to do a note sale to actually, call in some of the money we put, to be borrowed. 1.2 million at 1%. It's not new debt. It's already authorized, but it was 1.2 million in a note sale, and it came back from Lakeland at 1%. That's just for the records, no action to be taken. Okay, moving along, I need a motion for late public comment.
So moved.
Second.
Anyone wishing to speak?
Keep me busy tonight.
Yeah, good. As long as it's happy things.
Oh, no, this is gonna be happy. Linda Huntley, 86 Van Dam.
There you, already, you wrote down. No.
All right, right. The bond sale, did that, the note sale, did that include the funding from federal, for Morse Lakes? The roads that were done in Morse Lakes?
Yes, the whole, that was one of, yes, the whole thing.
So how much of interest has Morse Lakes paid so far?
Actually, Sherry's gonna be billing me the end of January, that 35,000, including the interest, you know, on the 67,000, which was at less than 1%. So I don't know the exact number, but at the end of the day, from the time it was funded to now, you know, we didn't really borrow the money, you know, so technically, this is the first time we're borrowing money, and I'll confirm that's within that $1.2 million. Assuming it is, you know, if I pay off 30,000 by January, okay, my balance is $32,000 that I could pay off of in 6 years, you know, 5,000 a year. So my interest on that is gonna be, I don't know, a couple $100, very minimal.
What about the interest, or I guess the lost interest that the town had?
And I know you brought that up to Sherry, she's gonna try to put a number on it, but we didn't really borrow money, though.
But you did borrow money for other things, and because of that, you didn't
Again,
have the
right,
money?
and again, that one, well, actually, the last note sale was even less, so, yeah, don't worry, we will be whole. If it's, you know, $300, it'll all be part of what
And what
Morse
about the-
Lakes, including Camphy and the rest.
Campy is
you
also
know.
in there?
Yeah.
Okay, also, I just wanted to clarify something. When you were talking about the qualified property, and you said it's only for, when does it go into place?
Once the ordinance is effective.
So anyone that does any repairs or anything from now till then, or?
No, it'll become effective, we
Isn't it
adopt,
effective the night of it's published, or
Yeah,
is
but I
there
think
a
in
time?
that ordinance, I think we actually put an effective date.
I thought it had to be when it was 10 days from its
Right.
publication.
It couldn't be earlier than that, right?
But if someone pulled a permit yesterday, not eligible. That's what you're asking. Why'd you pull a permit? Let me see.
It's 30 days after the completion of the improvement, conversion, or alteration, or the issuance of a CO, whatever occurs first.
Well, that's when they would begin, right, but Linda's asking, when does this ordinance begin?
When does it apply to that person that applies
See,
for
it's
the permit?
published Saturday, is it?
If it's published Saturday, the ordinance is effective 10 days from that day, correct?
Or is it
Correct.
Saturday?
Or is the ordinance effective tonight? No, it's 10 days
No,
from
from
publication.
publication.
Right.
Yeah.
So assuming it's well, that's Christmas Eve, I mean,
Yeah, it'd be Sunday. wouldn't it?
But does it specifically say that you can't have taken out a permit previously? Or is it after the work is completed, after that amount?
I believe we worded it where it's, you know, from the ordinance's effective date. Yeah, why, it's not
But
gonna
it's
be
a new permit, not existing.
a new
permit.
permit from the
Is it
effective
a
date. of the
permit, or is
ordinance.
it the work being done? Well, I don't know.
No, I assure you it's not. It's only new permits pulled after the effective day of the ordinance. Absolutely.
Because it was supposed to incentivize new work.
Correct. And we were
Not
hoping to do it.
existing work
We were hoping to
finishing.
do it sooner, but then it turned out we had to get DCA approval on our declarants of a rehab need, and they approved, so everything delayed. You remember, we were talking about this in August, you know,
Right.
it just never came to fruition until now, so.
Okay, for the late executive session, is there going to be any action taken?
Actually, I'm adding to that, there's matter personnel and litigation. Again, I don't know. I don't know if there is or not. You know, I don't want to tell you unlikely, then they take action, you know, so, possible, yeah. So,
Okay.
okay. Anyone else? Seeing no one, motion to close late public comment?
So moved.
I need a motion now to enter into late executive.
So moved?
Again, matter personnel and one matter litigation. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll take a 2-minute recess to gather and begin our exec. Time, I'd ask for a motion to
approve a stipend for Borough Treasurer Sherry Gallagher in the amount of $12,000.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Yeah, just for the number of hours she's putting in, she's going above and beyond. Since we lost our CFO, she's been a one-man crew, right? And also, well-deserved $12,000.
Duly noted.
Do that resolution.
Roll call.
12.20, can I do? Resolution.
So Resolution 12-2-0.
2-0. Councilmembers Yazdi,
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
All right, and then I'll make the motion for a $7,500 stipend for the mayor, for our full-time mayor, because of many, many reasons, including the number of hours he puts in as well. But, our increased license fee alone, $500,000 this year, right? Grants he's been writing in 2016, approximately $750,000. Completion of all the capital projects, all our roads, everything that we come up with. He makes sure he sees them all through. The flood mapping and 183 residents, saving all that money. He was the driving force of a lot of that. Affordable housing plan that we got accomplished this year. Again, he was a driving force of all of that. $1 million in sewer capacity alone last year, and no rate increases for workman's comp in a few years. So, that's just a few to mention. John's here all the time, all sorts of hours, and we really appreciate what he does. So, I believe that I make the motion that he deserves to get at least a $7,500 stipend.
Seconded? Somebody has to call a vote.
Yeah, roll call vote.
Councilmembers Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes. Motion to adjourn?
So moved?
I gotta get home. Can you-
Aye.
All in favor?
Thank you.